Wait, so apparently we're having still issues with people connecting to the lobby. Apparently, Bolt and Chillicula can't connect to the lobby at the moment. But of course, hello and welcome to the Nemesis Online Racing League Formula 1 Championship here for round number 15 at the Marina Bay Circuit in Singapore. But as just mentioned, we're waiting for a couple of people to get into the lobby, which we're struggling to do. So we're going to start in about 3 minutes' time. I'm not entirely sure what is going on. So we're just gonna... Oh, I don't even have chat open, and I haven't tweeted it out, so we're not off to a great start here. And I've got my volume on my phone, and now you can hear me twice. Professional stream, by the way. But as to those in chat, how on earth are we doing? Hope you're all doing well. Well, most likely for most of you, it's going to be a Sunday evening. So I've just had someone leave the lobby. Not sure what's going on. But right, trying to see what's going on. Looks like they're unable to join at the moment. Toby's having issues joining. Yeah, that's not good. Oh dear. As Bolt has just put, well, GG, I guess, to Ed in the chat, signalling that he can't connect indeed. Of course, there is a massive storm going on in the UK at the moment. Which I'm sure is part of the reason why Bolt is struggling to connect. As you can hear, it is actually quite windy. Yeah, I'm not too sure if you can actually hear that. If I was using my proper mic, you probably would. But yeah, Bolt saying nothing he can do, and wow, our championship leader seemingly going to be unable to join this session. And Val is giving his final orders to ready up at 35 past the hour, which is right now. So looks like going to be starting without Chillicula and Bolt. That's a real shame, and I'm sure that Ed is not going to be exactly thrilled to more than likely. Of course, it is Singapore. Anything can happen around these 22 or 21 corners that we have here at this circuit, but yeah, seemingly we're going to get underway here. Although I've seen a couple of suggestions saying try restart the PS4, try a new host, and let's see if Val has unreadied, because at the end of the day he's going to give the final call. And it looks like a couple of people are unreadying, so we're going to try and give this another go for Bolt and for Chillicula as well, I would presume. Yep, and most of the lobby is unreadied now. Well, I think I'm just going to mute my mic for a little bit. Okay, go get another drink, and yeah, we'll be back with some sort of news when I return. Right, and there we go. Now we're back with my mic all working again. And yeah, and I think that's a reasonable decision by Val that we're going to start no matter what at 40. Bolt concedes that he will not get into the lobby, and that's a real shame. It really is. And yep, we're all now readying up as Bolt, sadly, will not be able to connect. And now we're going to get underway. We'll start to load into the lobby now, I should say, for one-shot qualifying here at Singapore. And of course, it really is a battle for most of, can you make sure you don't cut the corners? Because of course at this circuit there are lots of corners and you can cut and track extend at many corners. So the drivers will certainly have to keep an eye on that on their laps. Of course, Singapore is usually a war of attrition. It's not always about being the fastest, and we've seen that a couple of times in the last few races. You know, perhaps Ed has been the faster driver on the occasion, but he's just made a couple of mistakes which has cost him in the end. And we'll see what comes to that this time, as he is looking very good coming into this race. I was just doing a little bit of time trial before we started the race, or before we started going into the lobby, I should say. And yes, Ed's time is, well, rather impressive, it must be said. As the drivers are now loading up their setups. Of course, it has to be one of the default ones, as I've mentioned numerous amounts of times on the broadcast previously. As we're just waiting for Val Testameister to ready up, and here we go. As they now come through the final corner, we're going to be on board with Hereford just for the first part of the lap until they come out to the right-hander. And now through turn 1 is, well, Hereford, quite frankly, just misses the apex of turn 1 and quite heavily there, turn 3. Not exactly the best start there by Hereford, if I'm perfectly honest, but now we're going to go way up as they're coming through the right-hander. Ducky Afferman certainly not making sure that he uses all of the trackers. Currently, I don't think I've ever seen this in my life whilst we'll be on this game. At the moment, Val was in first place, but now he's all the way down in 12th. I think that just about sums up Val for the most part, as Maverick has retired from the session. More than likely, he is being disqualified for cutting the corners. We're on board here with Ayrton Spencer coming through the middle sector now. Of course, he's going to try and do his Renault teammate proud here. Of course, his teammate being Bolt, who sadly cannot join the session. And Ayrton Spencer, certainly since the Christmas break, he has been looking very strong and he's been picking up exceptional results. As we've also had now a second retiree of this session, and that is Skell. But now we're going to go a little bit further forward onto Ed, who's already, well, looks quite a ways ahead, if I'm perfectly honest. Very difficult through that left-hander there to make sure that you don't understeer into the wall on the outside, as it is oh so easy to do. But now Ed coming through the last few corners, and now as he comes through the penultimate, and now the final little corner, it looks like it's going to be Ed to take pole here in Singapore by a whopping half a second over Addy in second. Of course, has had a strong string of results. Of course, he has won the last two Grand Prix, I think it is now. As we have Danny Bin Lahar, and that is certainly his best qualifying performance so far this season. All the way up in third place, and Danny Bin Lahar really did feature strongly at lots of Grand Prix last year. So it's nice to see Danny Bin Lahar back up to back in familiar territory, as we have, of course, Ed, who's on their medium compounded tyres. I was not aware of that. Starting on pole position. And we're also going to have Addy in second place on the medium compound tyres. Danny Bin Lahar on the softs in third. Ayrton Spencer in fourth. Chazza in fifth. Dougie Afferman in sixth. King No Skill in seventh. Of course, hashtag disconnect. I've actually marked that up. Merchy Logo in 8th, Hereford in 9th, Schachtifer in 10th, Skull in 11th, Val 12th, Tessimos in 13th, and Maverick DC 88 last of all. As we've got a few comments in the chat coming in now by Addy. What an awful lap. Well, thankfully you're still in second place, so you're still in with a very good chance here. Of course, what is a very long and challenging Grand Prix, and of course some comments now from Bolt saying don't even get the chance to contest, mark my words, this is the championship changing moment. Well, that remains to be seen. Of course, such a long Grand Prix, but Ed, you certainly started off well here by taking pole, but of course it is rather unfortunate that Bolt cannot connect. It's certainly not a fantastic way to be gaining points. But a lot can happen, that's for sure. In 32 laps, I believe it is, that we have around 31 laps around Singapore as we're now underway for the formation lap. Very frustratingly as Ed has nearly caused quite a bit of a pile up there into turn 1 on the formation lap as Addy and Danny Bin Lahar nearly collected him into turn 1. Imagining missing the Rec versus BDS game, just not able to join. I know. Well, I've got it up on my left hand side here as this game is going on. Sorry, as this race is going on. So keeping an eye on it, but sadly not able to pay full attention. But of course, I do very much enjoy commentating these lot. Of course, I'm sure I'm going to be screaming at some stage in the first couple of laps. Sorry, I'm quite focused here on the oh, what a shot that was by Nix. Don't think Alems is actually aware of Laxing's position there. I don't think he is. Yep, there we go. Laxing's got the kill. But now, they're through the final corner. Well, at least Ed is. So we've got his teammate. Quite a ways back. He's not even underneath the stadium. Yeah, he's not even, as he's on the medium compound tyres. We better, yes, that's right. Hashtag team disconnect. I knew I'd mucked it up. And there you go. We have two drivers starting on the hard compound tyres. We have Schechterfer, Skull and Maverick all starting on the hard tyres, as I just seen Chazza put in the chat that he is starting on 2-2 wings. Oh lord. Well, that is going to be quite some adventure. Good luck to you, Chazza, indeed, and of course to all of the drivers here in this Grand Prix. As we're now 3, and now 4, and now 5 lights. And we're underway for the Singapore Grand Prix, and it's been a drive-through penalty already for King No Skill. Hashtag team disconnect, not getting off to a fantastic start there indeed, but it looks like Ed has made it through the first part very successfully, as Ayrton Spencer's going to put a move on Addy and Danny Bin Lahar, and he's up into second place as he goes. Oh, Danny Bin Lahar's in the wall! He's coming back across the track as he crashed into the wall, but Chazza was thankfully able to get out of the way indeed. But Ayrton Spencer, oh, as Danny Miller has absolutely sent Dougie out from head into the wall, and has now hit him up the rear end to add further damage to himself. Danny Lahar with a very scruffy and poor start to this Grand Prix. And now we're going to make our way further back up the grid. Val making up good positions up in 6th, and Ayrton is up in 5th. I think he started in about 10th place. Did he? I can't remember exactly where he did start, but certainly a good start for him indeed. He started in 9th. Val, I think, who just hit his rear end there, as Lagiago is, well, he's having a bit of a nightmare here, as Lagiago is just absolutely gone through. Okay, Murcielago is lagging up a storm, and Ayrton Spencer, what's happened to Ayrton Spencer here? He's all the way down in 6th place. Has he just lagged back? I think he might have, and now he's lagged behind Murcielago. I don't know what on earth is going on in this lobby. And now what on earth is going on? As Addy, severe collision with Murcielago. What on earth is going on? And Chazza is now up into 2nd place, with Hereford in 3rd and Val in 4th. Now Ayrton Spencer's coming into the pit lane. Addy's coming into the pit lane. Have the two collided? And we've just missed it. As, of course, Danny Ben-Lahar comes into the pits. I have absolutely no idea what happened there. But, wow, Chazza up into 2nd place. I believe he started in 5th, and he's got two wings. So this is going to be quite a show for Chazza. As you can see, he's understeering like an absolute boat there. And wow. Chazza is having to use so little throttle through these corners. It's going to be an absolute miracle if he survives all 31 of these laps here. Just look how early he's having to turn in there, and he's not even losing that much time to Ed. So Chazza, he's really putting up a great show, and who knows if Ed perhaps makes a little bit of a mistake and Chazza gets in the DRS, Chazza really could launch an attack here at Ed. But saying that's lap 2, and he's got a 3-second lead already. So Ed looking pretty comfortable already in this Grand Prix. As I'll come to the chat just now, as we're in a little bit of a lull in the action. It must be said, however, I've just noticed that Schechter for a Maverick going at it over P9. It looks like Testemeister's also trying to get past Schechter here. Can he get it with a move up the inside here? Indeed he does. That's a very nice move on the Haas, but Maverick gone off track there, and he's just about managed to keep ahead of Testemeister as they come into this little stadium section where they go underneath the grandstand here at Singapore. It's a very nice part of the track, as indeed all of the Marina Bay circuit is. And if we got is it a virtual safety car or a full course safety car? I believe it's a full safety car. Let's see. Yes, indeed, it's a full safety car. I'm not entirely sure what on earth has caused this safety car, but that's really good news for Chazza, as he is running less fuel, and now he's going to be able to come back up to the back of Ed. And that's going to be really good news. This could be massive in this race. As King No Skill's coming into the pit lane, it might have been something to do with King No Skill here. Oh, Addy as well. He's coming into the pits. Here's Addy. And also is Danny Ben Lahar. So I don't know what on earth has happen. What on earth has happened here to cause the safety car. Is what a race to miss. Just need Ed to go next, and this will do nicely. And he's also saying the one time I need Chazza to be fast, and he's memeing. No, well Chazza, I'm not sure if you're aware, but since I think the French Grand Prix has been running 2 wings the whole entire time. Because he doesn't, well, he's not able to really challenge for the championship, so he's just been having a bit of fun, has Chazza. As now this break actually gives me time to turn my head left and watch my iPad, watch the 6th Invitational. 'Cause, 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 which is looking very good for BDS at the moment, it must be said. So we've got Hereford coming into the pits, along with Val, along with Murcielago, along with Dougie Afferman. Maverick decides to continue on, so that will put him up into 3rd place. But interesting, Chaz and Ed deciding not to pit here, whereas pretty much everyone else is, and that could cause an interesting scenario later on into this race, where the 2 leaders will actually have to, oh my lord, Shiko, you are insane. Wow. But that of course, half the field pitting, of course, could cause a very interesting scenario later in this race when Ed and Chazza, and of course Maverick, have to pit. That they would actually gonna have to come through traffic. So yeah, that will be very interesting indeed. As you can see, everyone has stopped except for Maverick, Chazza, and Ed. And of course Maverick is, I believe, on the hard compounded tyres. So yes, this is going to work out very nicely for Maverick indeed. As Bolt is saying in the chat, Chazza, take my energy, the spirit of Danny Rick. Dive bomb flows through you, and of course you are indeed hoping that Chazza licks the step and sends it up the inside of Ed. And of course, I'm sure Chazza, we're doing everything he can to win. Of course, denied victory here last year by a fantastic driver who was racing in a red car. Of course, that certain driver won it by 25 seconds. Quite a superb driver, it must be said. Of course, I'm talking about myself, who was victorious at the at this Grand Prix last time out. This time last year, if I could get my words out properly. But we're still going to be under safety car for at least another lap. As now, well and truly, the whole field is going to be bunched up, and Chazza just taking it very cautiously under this safety car. Oh my lord! I come back and vertical's just gone absolutely off when it was a 4v3. But well, there's not really much that I can talk about at the moment. Oh my. Oh my, how on earth has he clutched that? Now BTS on match point. So we've got Drift saying, Ed is like Hamilton, we just want the safety car to go fast or to go past it. Yes, well, many a time underneath the safety car I'd get very impatient and occasionally perhaps make a little bit of a mistake and go crashing into someone. I think I did that at Spa when I come from last to first. Actually, I think I punted off someone underneath the underneath the safety car. Yeah, that didn't end up too well. But yeah, safety car, under safety car conditions, you just want to fall asleep, but at the same time you've got to stay very aware, because so easily you can just go, you know, right into the back of someone. As Ayrton Spinner has got a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Schechtefar. And there we go. Just as we were talking about how easy it is to crash underneath a safety car, Ayrton Spinner has got a time penalty, and indeed he could have some damage as well. And see, there you go, just as the field's slowing down a little bit more than what you'd expect, and you nearly go crashing in, as we should surely have the safety car coming in this lap. I believe just at the end of this upcoming right-hander is usually when it's called in. So let's see if it is going to be called in, because I am getting extremely bored. And no, it doesn't look like it's going to come in. As now Schechtefer's got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Testemeister. So now Schechtefer and Ayrton Spinner traded some penalties, as we're still going to be under safety car conditions. Is it because Danny Ibn Laharzo is so far behind? But Well, this is rather annoying, and now Addy, Ayrton Spencer, and Testameister are all having to come into the pits, and now it's going to promote Skell, King No Skill, sorry I should say, Schechter all up a couple of positions here. Wow, that's quite remarkable there. Driver of the day safety car. Well, yeah, at this point, safety car has been out for 4 laps. As yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit impatient here, as I'm sure the drivers are. Just wanting to get underway, as Testameister has picked up a 5-second time penalty for crossing the pit lane exit white line. Oh dear, it's a very rookie error to make, and that means that he's done it before as well, because that's when you do get a penalty, because first time you'll usually get a warning, I believe. Wow, quite a mistake to happen, quite a mistake to make, I should say. But I believe the safety car should be in at the end of this lap. So hashtag team safety car has just been put in the chat by Marshmallow Goddess. And indeed, hashtag team safety car at the moment. Oh, Zalems is left in a 1v5. Safety car in this lap, finally! We're going to get back into some action. Chazza, he really could make an impact here on this championship battle if he can get past Ed here with his super low wings. He's going to have an incredible restart to be able to manage to get past Ed, as Ed is doing absolutely everything he can to perhaps catch Chazza off guard, if I'm perfectly honest. Going super slow, going at 30 kilometers an hour. I can nearly run faster than that, as he nearly puts Chazza into the wall there. And Chazza is like, Ed, what on earth are you doing? He's trying to do a Sebastian Vettel here, trying to go as slow as he possibly can. He's going at about 20 kilometers an hour. I think I can walk about as fast as that as they're now. Gonna get back underway, and what a gap already Chazza and Ed have to those behind. And as you can see, Chazza has got absolutely no downforce on this car. Through the final corner, he nearly goes off the circuit. And here we go, it's going to be absolutely massive for Chazza if he can get these couple of corners stringed up very well. As Val has already made up a position here on Hefford, up into P5, but Chazza, here we go, it's going to be a big moment for him here, but he's going nowhere near as wide as what he possibly could over the left-hand side of the curb there. And Chazza, he is gaining quite a lot here, it must be said, but nowhere near enough as he wants to get past. As now Val has gone from P5 all the way up into P3 with a fantastic move there on Maverick, and all of a sudden the Italian finds himself up into P3. Well done to Val, as Schechter and King No Skill trading positions here, with Schechter up into P8 and King No Skill running very wide there. I thought that Skull was going to have a little sniff there, but unable to manage so, as Dougie Afferman finds himself behind Murcia Lago, as he's looking for some, don't know if that was just the natural line that he takes, but here's Chazza. It's very close here, is Chazza, of course, as we mentioned numerous times now, running at that low downforce setup, as I should get rid of the little menu thing on the right hand side there, so I'm sure that's quite distracting. As Skull, what on earth has happened to Skull and Dougie Afferman? Oh no, the two friends and two Toro Rossos have come to a clash there, and they have now dropped down to 13th and 14th. Of course, Addy, he did start off in second place, is all the way down in P12, and he's going to have to slowly but surely make his way through the field, and I'm sure the driver of the class of Eddies very much could indeed make his way through. As Drifter's saying they might cross the 1 hour mark. Yeah, I think they could. Well, when did we start the race? Probably about a good 15 minutes ago, and we've only done 8 laps or so, so yeah, they very well could. And I must say, although Chazza is running these low wings, he isn't really close enough in this part of the circuit to get past Ed, but if he can just stay within that 1 second, as Ed, I think, has a little rear brake lock up there, as his rear end kicked out quite a bit for no particular reason indeed. But if Chazza, of course the DRS I believe is going to get activated at the end of this lap, so if Chazza can just stay close enough in the right parts of the circuit, he could indeed perhaps make a move on Ed for the lead of this Grand Prix, of course. Chaz is going to have to pull off some worldie of an overtake, as it is extremely difficult to overtake here at Singapore. As we have Ayrton Spinner getting past Danny Bilhar, P8 down the straight, and who's always also having a look at Scheckter here, and yes indeed, Ayrton Spinner is going to get past Scheckter. Now, the Renault and McLaren going side by side there, sorry, the Haas I should say, and Danny Bilhar now getting past Scheckter as well. I believe Scheckter does have lane damage, and also Danny nearly did as well, but now, what on earth has happened to Scheckter? Scheckter is out of the Grand Prix, as now DRS has been enabled. Scheckter has just gone straight into the wall there. A wall there has claimed many a victim over the time that this track has been on the F1 calendar, and now Chazza. This is absolutely the closest Chazza has been to Ed so far this race, and now Chazza with the DRS enabled, and now with his 2-2 wings, he is absolutely flying towards the back of Ed. Can he potentially make a move here? He's going to try and go around the outside. There's a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but Chazza just not close enough here to launch a full attack on the Brits in the Mercedes. But Chazza has proven to be a real threat in this race with, well, one would say his Mimi setup, but it's actually working wonders for him so far in this race. As you can see through these quite twisty parts around the Anderson Bridge, really struggling to keep it on the track perfectly, but of course, oh, it doesn't look like he does get DRS, of course. They did have DRS down that back straight in real life for last year's Grand Prix, but it doesn't look like that has happened or been transferred across, as we've had more positions traded. I believe Testa, Meister and Addy have got past Danny Bilhar. I believe that is what just happened. Not 100% sure, as we're more focused on the battle for the lead here between Chazza and Ed. Of course, a really pivotal race for Ed, with his championship rival Bolt not partaking in this race due to connection issues. Well, not even connection issues, quite simply not being able to connect to the session. As Scheckter has just said in the chat, clip the inside wall after what looked like a top 10 for you. Yeah, indeed, you were in a very strong position indeed, Scheckter, but sadly nothing to come from it today, as Chazza once again threatening Ed. Boys, tapped Ed there a little bit, but looks like both drivers have gotten away unscathed there. Chazza with such a high closing speed with this low downforce setup that he does indeed have. And, well, Chazza just certainly reminding Ed that he's there. Of course, Chazza certainly not meaning by any means to tap the back of Ed there, as of course risked his own front wing there. But Ed certainly knows that Chazza is a threat in this Grand Prix. And using very little ERS at the moment. Let's just have a quick little look at the ERS, and there we go. It looks like that Ed is using has used a little bit more of ERS so far in this race, as where Chazza seems to be completely saving it here through the middle and last part of the lap, and perhaps just trying to use it all in the straight line. Chazza actually struggling a little bit here through the last sector for the first time. We've just seen that gap get out to a second, and that could be a crucial little moment in this race if Ed is able to get that gap out to a second. But both struggling a little bit through that final corner, and Chazza does not have DRS down the main straight. Now just closes under a second, but where's the detection point? He should get the DRS here. Back down. Oh, what's the road called? I've forgotten what the road's called. Something Boulevard. Is it Raphael's Boulevard? that this straight is called, as Chazza does indeed have the DRS, and that is going to be a great assistance into keeping up with Ed. But it must be said that Val, the gap was about 3 seconds, and now to Val, but now it is about 1.5. So Val is on a storm here. He's really closing quite a bit on these two, as Ed perhaps might be just preserving his tyres a little bit here in this stage of the race, or I'm not sure because I haven't done any sort of race runs around this circuit whatsoever. He could perhaps just be struggling with a little bit of tyre overheating here, because that of course is something that I struggled with, and what many drivers struggled with on last year's game around this circuit, and it could be perhaps what Ed and Chazza are struggling with, and that's why we're seeing Val being dragged towards these two. And look at that, Val looks so much quicker through this part of the circuit than those ahead of him. So this really could be massive. Oh, and wow, what a clutch that was, as BDS I threw it to the main stage. As Val, I tell you what, Val is going to be really a major threat in this race. He's really starting to close in on Chazza, and as soon as he gets within a second of Chazza, I would fancy Val to get past Chazza here. Oh, as Chazza did actually close up quite a bit in the braking zone there. Oh, what on earth has happened to Val? I just looked away from my screen for a split second, and now Val has all of a sudden found himself behind Maverick. So Val must have made a mistake there at turn 3 or so. And now, just as I was talking up Val's chances of potentially challenging for even the win, he's made a mistake in typical Val style, and now is even coming under threat from Ayrton Spencer here. And from what was looking in a very good position to perhaps even get up into P5, sorry, to get up into P2, Val was dropped down all the way to 4th. So we're going to make our way back forward towards the battle that we're being, and perhaps we're going to go a little bit further back here. Is Addy, of course, on the hard compound tyres, as we see here is Ed is coming to the pit lane now to make his one and only pit stop of the Grand Prix, and he's going to go on to the medium compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, making sure that he cannot get undercut whatsoever here by Chazza. This is going to be a really crucial lap here to see whereabouts Ed can come out, as Hereford has lost his position to Addy, as Addy was able to get past. As we come back onto Ed, who is not going to have any traffic ahead of him. He has Testmeister a couple of seconds up the road, but now this is a super important lap for Ed to see how fast he can, and perhaps see if he can extend that gap to Chazza. And also a crucial lap, as now Val has dropped all the way down into P6. He got overtaken by Ayrton Spencer, which I was going to say once I'd moved past my point on Ed, but he's now also lost position to Addy and Hereford. What on earth has happened to Val? It was looking like a great couple of laps for Val ahead, but he's had an absolute stinker, and now he's down in P6, and he's in a shocking position now in this race. As Chazza, of course, you would expect is going to come into the pit lane here at the end of this lap, so we're going to keep our eyes on him. As Rad Skull retired from the Grand Prix, and oh boy, I think he's gone into the wall there. Just here at the grandstand, indeed he has done so. So both the Team Black Diamond racers have gone into the wall at that very same corners. Now Chazza comes into the pit lane here to make his first and what would be final pit stop of this Grand Prix. A very smooth pit stop there by the Ferrari mechanics. It's now Chazza is trundling down the pit lane. And let's see where about Ed is on circuit. Ed is now just about coming through the final corner. And where's Chazza? Chazza just trundling out the end of the pit lane there, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And it looks like it is actually going to be fairly close, but it looks like Ed is just about going to come out ahead. So that's fantastic news for Chazza. Even Ed, with the undercut, actually has not gained too much time, as Val has overtaken Hereford now at the end of the Raphael's Boulevard. Moved himself up into P4. Stanley Ben Lahar's got the time penalty for multiple warnings, either corner cutting or track extending, of course. But Chazza is about 1.5 seconds behind Ed, but as Ed, of course, does have to overtake Testameister, he's going to have to overtake traffic. Chazza should be able to close that gap up whilst Ed is stuck behind Testameister. So Chazza still in a very strong position here in this Grand Prix to challenge Ed, but who knows, with Testameister making a little bit of a mistake like that, Ed could find himself past Testameister a little bit quicker than what Chazza would want. Testameister really kind of all over the place here in the last sector. Oh, and losing the rear end. I'm sure that Ed's heart was in his mouth there, as Testameisters are, well and truly parking the bus through the final sector here, as Maverick has now come into the pit lane to make his pit stop. And he's going to come back out behind, of course, Ed and Chazza, but Ed's now set the fast lap the Grand Prix, and he's going to try and go up the inside Testameister into turn 1. Indeed, he can get that move done, but Testameister, I thought for a second he was going to dive it up the inside at turn 3. I thought he was also going to lose the rear end, but Chazza, that's bad news for Chazza in this Grand Prix. He's gone past a little bit quicker than what he would have wanted. Chazza seemingly struggling a little bit to warm up those tyres initially. And of course, with Chazza having less downforce on the car, and now onto a harder compounded tyres, of course, it's not going to work the tyres as hard as if he were to have more downforce. So Chazza perhaps just going to struggle in this stint on the hard compounded tyres, not getting the heat quite into the tyres as he'd like to. But in saying that, when you've got all the straight line speed in the world, you can overtake, and that's what we'll be looking to do to Testameister here, as he's now going to go all the way up into hot lap mode. Can Chazza potentially make a move here on Testameister? I thought for a moment that he was going to try and launch a move up the inside of Testameister there, but he was just too far back, as I've done a little bit of a crofty there, if I'm going to be brutally honest with myself, as Testameister, as we've seen on the previous lap, struggling quite an awful lot through this final sector. Chazza understeering quite significantly, it must be said, as Addy and Ayrton Spencer going side by side down into turn 1. Addy going to try and go around the outside. Ayrton Spencer just about leaving him enough room, but Addy not feeling quite not feeling comfortable enough to go side by side, and Addy's going to stay behind Ayrton Spencer for the moment in P2. And now Addy with the DRS activated as they come down Raphael's Boulevard. He's going to try and go up the inside of Ayrton Spencer here, as Ayrton Spencer defends the inside line, but Addy with a terrific move around the outside there has got the job done on on Ayrton Spencer. Oh, as Ayrton Spencer just tipped the rear end of him there, but was able to get away with it, and Addy now up into the lead of the Grand Prix on those hard compounded tyres, which he pitted onto during the safety car, as Ed has managed to get himself past Murcielago, and Chazza has also managed to get himself past Testameister. But Chazza now about 5 seconds, about 4 seconds behind Ed now. All of a sudden, how quickly this race can change, as Chazza was side by side with Ed a couple of times in this race, but now finds himself 4 seconds behind because of Ed's undercut and, well, just frankly greater speed in this race on these compounded tyres. at the moment is now it is catching up to the back of Hereford and Val, who is squabbling over P3 in this race. And of course, if Val hadn't made a couple of mistakes, he'd currently be in the lead of the Grand Prix. So Val be absolutely kicking himself here. Is Ed, what a run he's got through the final corner there compared to Hereford. And now Hereford, he has the outside line, but Ed should surely get the move down up the inside, and indeed he does. He manages to keep it on circuit, all clean indeed. And Ed disappearing further up the road from his real challenger in this race, Chazza. As now Ed will also be looking to get past Val as quickly as he possibly can. He's putting his ERS up into overtake mode as they come down Raffles Boulevard, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to Val to get a move done. As speaking of getting moves done, Chazza's got a move down on Murcielago, but what a fantastic run by Ed out of that corner as he tries to get up past Val, but Val holding strong here. Oh, and yeah, I wouldn't be trying to go side by side with Val through there, but Ed is really putting up a great fight here. As I thought for a moment he was going to... Oh, he's trying to go for the switchback here on Val. No way he's going to go. Oh, and Val... Oh, Val has caused an absolute crash there as Hereford goes through it nearly. Oh, my goodness me. As now Val has come back on the track and crashed into Testameister. Val with an absolute massive moment in this race. And now Chazza is all the way onto the back of Ed. And just like that, as it seemed like the win was comfortably in Ed's hands here. Just like that, his main rival in this race, Chazza's up to the back as Val, through the old Singapore sling, made a massive mistake there and then clipped the wall trying to get back onto the track. As Chazza nearly actually turned into the wall there, but was just about able to make that adjustment of the steering wheel to get past. But yeah, while Val has had quite a nightmare there, and this has really allowed Chazza back within 1 second of Ed, which is so important here for Chazza, as Val has really caused all that chaos there indeed. As Skull is saying in the chat, quality ban for Val, dangerous rejoin, and indeed I agree, he rejoined it very dangerously indeed into the path of Testameister, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a quali ban indeed, as Ed with a slight lock up there is now Chazza all over the rear end of him as they come through the middle sector. And Ed is going to be making sure that he can do everything possible to get away from Chazza in the middle part of this lap, but Chazza, credit where credit's due, he really is fantastic through this middle part of the lap, considering he doesn't have any real downforce on the car. But I must be said, Ed made a little bit of a mistake there on the exit of that corner out of the hairpin, and if they did have the third DRS straight, which was there for the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix, I think Chazza really could have had a go at him there, but that's sadly for Chazza, that's not included here. As Chazza now through the final part of the lap just loses quite a bit of time to Ed there, but he's still going to have the DRS for the main straight, so he should be able to stay within a second. As now Ed and Spinner comes into the pit lane for what should be the final time. And what tyres is he going to go? He's going to go into the medium compound tyres, and also he's going to make a change of his front wing as he now finally gets out of the pit lane. Right, out of his pit box, as I'd expect him to come out just behind Maverick in P5, as Chazza gaining once more on Ed down the Raffles Boulevard straight, but he can't do anything about it. He can't get past Ed just yet. Who knows, a chance perhaps might arise for Chazza here, as we're on lap 19 of 31, so we're well over halfway's distance now. Oh, as Chazza loses the rear end there, and that was certainly a little bit of a heart in mouth moment there for Chazza. His head just has so much more traction out the corners. with all, of course, having so much more downforce, is all what's happened for Ayrton Spinner here. He's had a little bit of a moment, and indeed Ayrton Spinner, 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Murcielago. Oh dear, he's had a little bit of a nightmare there as Ayrton Spinner, and I think he has some damage because he's falling quite a ways back from Murcielago here. Yeah, what on earth is happening here to Ayrton Spinner? He looks like he's having some issues. But I wonder if he's disconnected. Because he's braking way too late. Oh, sorry, way too early. No, perhaps not. Perhaps he's just taking it very cautiously, but... Interesting. He must have some front wing damage, and indeed, yeah, okay, there you go. On the left-hand side of his front wing, the complete end plate is missing, so that explains why he's going oh so slowly through these corners, as he's picked up damage. Oh, and who's that coming into the pit lane? That is Maverick coming into the pit lane. He's collected the pit lane speeding board, and speeding it he does. He's got a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As Ayrton Spinner, just after coming into the pits, is now having to make another pit stop after that collision, we believe, with Danny Ben Lahar. We didn't entirely catch it on stream, but not good for Ayrton Spinner after having to pit it, and that's going to nearly pull him all the way back into last place as Murcielago trying to get past Danny Ben Lahar, but Danny Ben Lahar is going to defend that move with a pretty good re-overtake, if you'd even want to call it that, back up the inside of Murcielago, who is on the much fresher medium compound tyre, so it's going to have to be a mighty effort here by Danny Ben Lahar to stay ahead of the Austrian driver here in Murcielago. Murcielago seems to be very poor through that part of the track. Now that's the second lap in a row that I've seen him do that. It might just be the lag. Oh, and speaking of going wide, that is exactly what Danny Ben Lahar has done there, as he goes nearly into the wall at the end of the hairpin there, but it looks like he might get back up the inside as there's a little bit of wheel banging going on, and Danny Ben Lahar looks like he should maintain this position, and yes, indeed he does over Murcielago. And wow, Murcielago somehow still ahead of Danny Ben Lahar. So Danny Ben Lahar ahead of Murcielago. But yes, indeed, after having to pit once more, Ayrton Spinner's all the way in last place, but Maverick, who did start in those medium compounded tyres, so in the hard compound tyres, has gone on the soft compounded tyres here, and he's going to be on quite a mission in this second half of the race now. He's going to have to close up to Dougie Afferman first of all, but then he's going to have to close up a massive 20-second gap to King No Skill, Val, Testameister, Hereford, Murcielago to get past and to get some very solid points, but that's going to be a tall order, that's for sure. Now there you go, he gets past Dougie Afferman as we've got King No Skill trying to go and get past Val there, and he's just decided, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go to absolute Narnia off circuit and get past Val, as hashtag Team Disconnect is going to remain in 9th place. As Chazza is still there with Ed. It was King No Skill hits the wall there just before the start of the Anderson Bridge, as Val was also very close to the wall as well. King No Skill feinting a move up the inside, and Val, for whatever reason, has fallen for it. There you go. If you want to get past Val, just do the cheeky Fernando Alonso move all the time, as Val's going defensive into every single corner here. He's absolutely quivering in his boots here, just by the presence of hashtag Team Disconnect in King No Skill. It's King No Skill. He is on the softer compounded tyres here on this stage of the race. Val on the hard compound tyres, with King No Skill on the soft compound tyres, as Testameister sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, 141.6. There we go, King No Skill on the racing point, going to go up the inside of the Alfa Romeo Val. Yes, indeed he does. King No Skill up into 8th place, up past Val. And that was a very good move indeed there. Very nicely executed by a King No Skill. And now he'd be wanting to pull away from Val. But now Val is going to have the DRS as now Testameister moves up into 6th place. And speaking of fastest laps, it's going to be won by Ayrton Spencer, 140.7. And that is very, very fast indeed. As he's looking to close up on Maverick. And of course they both pitted on the same lap to go onto the soft compounded tyres. Is now King No Skill very close to the wall, it must be said, through that left hand. I think that is turn 10, if my memory serves me correct. He's driving a very good Grand Prix. As Chazza indeed has crashed. Chazza has made a mistake somewhere, and I'm surprised that has not happened earlier. And now Chazza is going to go on the soft compounded tyres, change your front wing, and he's going to go to the end of the race on these compounded tyres. And there you go. That's going to spell the end of Chazza's chance of potentially winning this race. But one thing I just want to check here is I'm fairly sure that Addy has pitted. Yes, indeed he has. He's now been on these hard compounded tyres for 17 laps, and he has an 11-second advantage over Ed. And that gap, as far as I'm aware, has not come down all that much indeed. As Testameister is going to come to the pit lane. He's obviously made a mistake somewhere. And also now Maverick has been disqualified. And so assuming that he has crashed, and his AI car has nearly crashed into Addy's, as Maverick has been disqualified from the race. But Chazza, I'm surprised he as Maverick has just raged in the chat, saying that he is done. But Chazza, it must be said, I'm surprised he hasn't crashed early in this race with running 2-2 wings around the circuit. But it looks like he's still going to come home in about 3rd place. So yeah, but now the big question here is, can Ed catch Addy? And Addy has just got a 3-second time penalty. Oh, that is massive. He was stuck on the barrier that's sticking out on track. Oh yeah, he was too. Yeah, at the end of the second main straight, really, wasn't he? Yeah. But can Addy make his tyres last to the end of the Grand Prix? Because I believe that's what he's trying to do here. He's trying to go to the end of the Grand Prix here. Is Addy. And can Ed catch Addy? With now them being on lap 24.31. Addy having about 7 lap older tyres than what Ed does here. He's been on his 11 laps, where Addy has been on his 18. Is Ed getting very close to the wall here? But to me, it looks like Ed's quite a little bit unsettled on these compounded tyres. I mean, and he really isn't gaining all that much on Addy. It's whether or not Addy hits the cliff on these hard compounded tyres. Of course, I'm not too sure how good the tyres are on this track, as I haven't done any sort of racing on this track indeed. But there you go, Ed's actually lost half a second on this lap to Addy, so it looks like it's going to be quite difficult here for Ed to get past, or if he's going to catch up to Addy here. Yeah, it looks like that Addy could perhaps be putting himself in a fantastic position to win another Grand Prix indeed. As we just had some information by Schechter for saying that Chazza crashed on the first turn of Sector 3. That's where he had his off. Well, thank you very much for that information indeed. I believe that is what that's what Colin just said as well. On that very pesky outside barrier that does stick out. As Chazza set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix at 139.7, if you don't mind. As the Ferrari driver is flying, but we're going to go back towards the midfield battle here, of which Danny Van Lahar is holding up Murcielago and Hereford. quite a bit in Murcielago. That is some corner cut you've just done there, fella. As I rather annoyingly have a piece of salad really annoying me at the moment in my throat, and that's causing me quite a bit of discomfort at the moment. I might have to run just quickly into the kitchen and get some water. But I do really want to stay and keep an eye on this Grand Prix. So on lap 25 of 31, nearly 5 laps to go. Here is Danny Bin Lahar on these medium compound tyres. He's doing a fantastic job to hold off the thwart the attempts of Murcielago here, who is on much fresher compounded tyres than Danny Bin Lahar, and Danny Bin Lahar making sure he defends the hairpin there, but Murcielago is going to slip by up the inside past Danny Bin Lahar, and Danny Bin Lahar also might lose out to Hereford here. Hereford's trying to go around the outside, who I think hits the back of Murcielago, and now there's wheel banging between the Mercedes and the Williams driver. As now looks like the Williams driver Hereford has finally got past Danny Bin Lahar. Danny Bin Lahar with that little bit of a mistake there at the end of the hairpin has gotten past. Finally. So now Danny's dropped back into 6th place. Now he's going to come under pressure from Val, and also our man King No Skill has somewhere made a mistake and has dropped back into 8th place, because of course he did overtake Val at one stage in this race. There's Val now all over the back of Danny Bin Lahar, almost touching his rear end there. And now launching it, move up the inside potentially. I don't know why on earth he'd do that when he's just about to get DRS on the Italian driver in front of him. Of course, 2 Italians. And now Val, surely he's going to make a move up the inside. No, indeed he actually doesn't. But Danny Bin Lahar does run a little bit wide, and this is going to prevent Val. Good opportunity here to go around the outside. And if he can just keep his car here, he's going to have the inside line for the final corner, which is going to secure the move there for Val. And now Val moves up into P6, and Danny Bin Lahar, just as I was saying, how good his efforts have been in staying up in P4, has fallen all the way back into P7 and into the wall. So Danny Bin Lahar now seemingly can't keep his tyres on track any longer. He perhaps needs a fresh set of boots on lap 27 to 31. And let's see what he actually decides to do, because if he stays out, he perhaps could get a couple of points. But let's see what indeed he does decide to do. It's now the train behind Murcielago is beginning, with Murcielago in P4, with Hereford behind him, who's also got Val behind him, with King No Skill, of course. Hashtag Team Disconnect always looming large in the background. So we're going to quickly go to the chat here to see what Maverick has said. An absolute joke. Are you serious? My game had a bollard in the middle of the track. I should be battling for a podium. I should be battling for a podium, and he's not too happy with the game. That's for sure. But Val here taking advantage of a little bit of a mistake by the Williams driver. He's going to have to go around the outside though. He's closing massively on Murcielago, and Val has gone into the wall. But somehow he's nearly stayed ahead of Murcielago, and that is absolutely ridiculous how Val has bounced off the outside wall there and gotten past Hereford. But Val going a little bit wide there and coming right across Hereford there. Very lucky that there was no contact indeed. Surely Val has got some front wing damage. Oh, it's Hereford, lad. What on earth are you thinking there? As he's nearly pushed Val into the wall, trying to go for some sort of switchback. Just getting way too aggressive, and now trying to go up the inside the chicane. He forces the Italian driver wide here. And now Hereford on the softer compound tyres. Can he get past with also the racing point looming large in the mirrors of these two drivers? He goes into the wall. Hereford goes straight into the wall at the end of the straight, and now he's going to move down into 7th place, and I'm sure he's going to have to come into pit lane now, as King No Skill is now trying to take advantage of the chaos that just ensued between the Williams driver and the Alfa Romeo driver Val. that was quite interesting indeed. But if you guys are actually still in the game, I believe Colin and Schechter are. Can you please see what the penalty scenario is with Ed and Addy, please? Because that is going to be very interesting, because as far as I've seen, there's only been one penalty between the two drivers, and that was a 3-second time penalty to Addy. So can you, if you guys are still in the lobby, can you please go and check that out for me? Because that is going to be that's going to be some very important information to know. As we're coming towards the final laps of this Grand Prix, is King No Skills now going to try and perhaps make a move on Val here, and he's going to brake much later than the Italian. He's going to try and make a move around the outside, and what a move that is by King No Skill around the outside of Val, but it looks like he's going to make a mistake there at the following corner and go too deep. That was actually a quite superb move. Oh, that is massive. That is massive, as Ed has now got a 3-second time penalty. But that was quite a move there by King No Skill, but sadly he just then made a mistake into the following corner, which resulted in the Italian getting back ahead. So now Chazza is coming to the pits as he's seen that his fastest lap has been stolen, and he's like, I want my fastest lap, and indeed he can make a pit stop, as he does have the gap certainly to Murcielago. Chaz is having none of it. Addy has 8 seconds of penalties. Oh, that's right. Addy has a penalty for a severe collision with someone underneath the virtual safety car, I believe. So Addy has 8 seconds worth of penalty, and Ed at least has 3. So that is massive, as now 29 out of 31 laps completed here. Soon to be 30. We're soon to be on the penultimate lap, and Addy has a 9.5 second lead over Ed, and this has been an absolute masterful display once again by Addy. He's really starting to find his foot here in this league, and it is super impressive indeed. As we're just seeing as Addy's actually been overtaken by Hereford here, who's on the soft compounded tyres. So as you can see, Hereford is quite a ways a bit quicker than Addy at this stage of the race, but it doesn't matter because Addy is quicker than Ed. But Schechter, if we can just see, does Ed have any more penalties than 3-second time penalty? He just picked up a couple of, well, just a lap ago now. As I nearly lost what I just said then, because Hereford, well, he nearly had a massive crash there, and that perhaps could have had large ramifications on the result in this race. As of course we're now on the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix, and we've got Renault all the way up the back of the Haas, and now he's being overtaken there into the, well, just onto the stadium section there. I believe that is going to be Ayrton Spencer, who's trying to catch up to the back of Hereford here for P8 in this race. As now Addy heads on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, and this could be a massively important lap because we do not exactly know the penalty situation here, as Ayrton Spencer actually loses the car quite a bit there, but this actually could work out quite well here for Addy, as now Addy is going to have some DRS, and there you go. It's been confirmed that Ed only has a 3-second time penalty, so this is going to come right down to the wire here in this Grand Prix. Addy really has to put in a fantastic lap here to get past. Oh, it's Ayrton Spencer in front of him, goes into the wall, and that's the last thing. And Val is retired from the Grand Prix. as Keno Skill will now move up into 5th place, and there you go, Val has done what so many others have done there today, gone into the straight at the end. It's gone into that wall there at the end of that straight, and that's a big mistake there by Val. As Ed now coming across the Anderson Bridge. He is 7.5 seconds behind. Oh, and Val's car's in the middle of the circuit there, and that's super dangerous. And are we going to see it go away? Yes, indeed it is going to go away, and that could be massive. Val's car could just have cost Addy this Grand Prix, as he really now is struggling on these 25 lap old tyres, as Addy just about is going to come now through the penultimate corner, and I believe he's going to claim victory here at the Singapore Grand Prix, as Ed is giving absolutely everything he's got here. And Ed, he actually finishes 7 seconds behind, so he must have had more penalties than that. So there you go. Ed victorious. Sorry, Addy victorious once again. He's on a hot streak at the moment, is Addy, and he's absolutely done Bolt a favour in this championship battle, with Ed not taking home the full 25 points. Absolutely massive. Chazza has gone straight on there, and he should be able to just get it reversed out in time of Murcielago coming through in. Oh, Murcielago, who knows actually the penalty situation here, as he seems very low on fuel, if I'm perfectly honest. Oh no, he can't use any more ERS. Okay, there we go. Murcielago just about finishes in 4th place there, as Kingdo Skill has finished 26 seconds behind. I'm not sure how on earth that's happened. It might just be because he's got so many penalties. Sonny Bin Lahar comes across the finish line in 6th place, and Hereford. What is it with everyone? He's just at the grandstand section there. Of course, the racetrack goes underneath the grandstand. Everyone's going off there, as I can see quite a few messages in the chat, and we will get to that in a moment. But it's going to be Addy to take home another win. Another fantastic display by the Haas driver, and wow, he's really put on a fantastic display ever since we've come back from the Christmas and New Year break. He's won 3 races now, and not even Ed can stop him. Who can stop Addy at the moment? It's a pity that he didn't put in these strong of a performances in the first half of the season, but it's picking up wins, and if he does indeed continue on in this league for the next game, he really is putting himself in there as a serious contender. As Addy actually only had a 3-second time penalty, so I'm not sure why Scheckter has given us false information there. But there you go, Addy, with a fantastic display of driving, comes home victorious once more in this Grand Prix, after being in dead last at one stage, if I recall correctly indeed. But now we have I believe a new championship leader, I believe, in Ed. He's going to come home in 2nd place, but that is enough, I believe, to take the championship lead off Bolt. Now we have Chaz in 3rd, Murcielago in 4th, Kingdo Skill in 5th, Danny Milan in 6th, Hereford in 7th, Testameister in 8th, Ayrton Spinner in 9th, Ducky F. Man in 10th, Val in 11th, Skull in 12th, Scheckter in 13th, and Maverick in 14th. I was waffling on all that much, then I just had to use all of my breath and all of my energy to to get through the rest of the finishing order there. As now we're going to come to the chat to see what has been said. As Ed said, safety car screams. Addy did 25 26 laps on the hards. I'm done. Yeah, he did indeed put on a fantastic display there. As Bolt says, congrats to Addy, but also a lot of points given away today. And indeed, unfortunate you were not able to partake. But sadly, that's just sometimes how it is, and I'm sure that you will bounce back strong in the next Grand Prix. Chazza now saying still somehow third place. Indeed, it was a miracle that you got third place. The barrier that I hit is literally sticking out the track. Well, yeah, I did actually see that, and rather unfortunate indeed that that barrier is sticking out on the track. That certainly is something that needs to be fixed in the next game. But that is going to be it. I'm going to make sure that I hop off very quickly, as there's quite an important Rainbow Six Siege event going on at the moment. Of course, the Sixth Invitational, and there's of course my Australian team Fnatic taking on Team Empire at the moment. So we are indeed going to head off now, and thank you to everyone who of course has joined in and what has been a very interesting and intriguing Singapore Grand Prix. Perhaps not the most exciting or most bonkers race that we've had this season, but certainly a very important one for the championship battle at the end of the day. And for this week, it of course has been me, Niblo331, and I all hope you have a fantastic weekend and a fantastic night. And yeah, we'll all see you later. Bye bye.